Our sermon today will be focusing on John 10, verses 1 through 10. It's part of a long passage about Jesus as the Good Shepherd. Leave it to the Gospels and the Bible and all of that. There are no number of people who would be preaching on this would say, we got to get back to chapter 9 if you want to really put this in context. I certainly know what they're talking about. And for those of you who want to go a little deeper, read chapter 9. It's a story of the man who was cured by Jesus, but by the same time, he was rejected by the priests and the elders at the temple. So he was being sort of kicked out of a community, but welcomed by Jesus. And I think for those of you who are used to studying this sort of stuff, you begin to see, I see he wasn't welcome in that sheepfold, but he was welcomed in Jesus'. He's obviously one of these sheep that now in 10, he's talking about he heard the voice, others don't. Is it making sense?
Yeah.
So there's that whole tie-in, but I want to cut to the chase today. But I love giving you, I know some of you love to get into it, and I loved it too. So get into it, go look and start seeing how 9 moves right into 10 here. There's a lot of reflection and commentary that's so worth pulling out there. And another thing it does, I don't want to labor this point, but there are certain people who want to argue, the church that was an invention. Paul sort of concocted that years later. That was not Jesus's intention. It's like, no, it was his intention. It's very clear in John in particular that there was this dissection that was beginning to happen, where he was being rejected by the organized religion, big shot guys in Judea and the temple, and he was reforming a community around himself. And that was intentional. And you see that in 9 and going now into 10, besides whatever personal things you'll derive from the sermon about Jesus being a good shepherd and you being a sheep, and we're going to do that, yes. But there is a commentary that's very strong about not just you, but us as the sheepfold of Christ, and of being a united people, not just as individuals listening to the voice of Christ, because that's usually where we go. Am I hearing Christ? But a better application in certain ways for us, especially Good Shepherd Church, I would say, are we hearing it? It's hard for us sometimes to think as a community. It can be a challenge, Some of us have trouble even thinking of ourselves as part of a family, I mean, if you're having trouble with that, how are you going to feel that way about a church, But I know that some of you would say, Good Shepherd, more than most, does have that sense of cohesion and belongingness, At any rate, there's a lot of that going on here. I wanted to give you a heads up. You want to follow up on it, please do. There's a lot to be gained from it. I'm showing you a picture here. The Good Shepherd was an image that, well, first of all, it's throughout the Bible. You go into Ezekiel, it's 34. He talks about the bad shepherds, the good shepherds. God is the good shepherd in Ezekiel. So when Jesus comes along X many years later and says, I'm the good shepherd, any pious Jew would be thinking, wait a second, God's the good shepherd. And Jesus would say, I know. Oh, again, for those people who say, Jesus never said, I am God. If you're a Jew and you're saying, I'm the good shepherd, guess what? Yeah. Anyway, so the Good Shepherd was an image that didn't start with the Jewish Christians. It was throughout. Big, important image, the shepherd and the Good Shepherd. In Psalm 23, we all know that. Here, this image is from a 3rd century Roman catacomb. I think it's a catacomb of St. Calixtus, I'm pretty sure. And look at it. It's a young guy. Where's the Jesus with the long hair and the beard? And ain't happening. They hadn't made that. It was an image of this shepherd, this young, helpful, taking care of business shepherd, who's not only taking care of this one, he's feeding the others. That's it. So this image is goes pretty deep in the consciousness of Christianity. It goes way, way back. In fact, it goes further back than Christianity. It's a pagan image. This is an image, as you can see, the Moschophoros from the Acropolis. It's going back 570, and I love they do BCE. Cute. As if we don't know what we're talking about. Before the Common Era. Okay. Anyway, what's the old Monty Python thing? Wink, wink, nod, nod. Great. Anyway, so here is this, and the figure is bearing, in this case, a calf. You know, I taught you about Saint Christopher and the bearing of Christ. You know, Foros. This is a Greek. So when you see that Foros, it's like, oh, carrying. What are you carrying? A musk. Oh, what? Calf. Carrying a calf. Okay? So this image is also in pagan. Here's another pagan one, but here he's bearing a ram, late Roman car of Creophoros. They had this ritual, the cult of Hermes, and it was to save a town at one point, apparently, that was suffering from a miasma. I'm just telling you what they suffer from. Sometimes I feel like I have miasma all the time, but I don't know what miasma is. It just sounds like, yeah, I think I'm feeling that. We're probably feeling that as a country right now. A lot of miasma going around. Anyway, if you want to take care of that, and I encourage you to get a nice, good-looking, strong young man, I think Noah would probably do, and get a ram on his shoulders and have him walk around the perimeter of San Marcos, California, and we'll be able to get rid of the miasma. You get Noah on that, would you please? Get him, make sure he gets the memo. So anyway, so that's where it comes. But it was tied into also an image of philanthropy, you know. Now, I don't know if I told you, the calf, that Moschophoros, that calf's going to die. See, that's why he's happy, but I don't think the calf is, you know. And on this one, I'm not sure the ram got killed, but the ram was being used to protect and whatever. Well, you know, because you've heard me preach before, where are we going? When the church gets around to taking pagan images and redeeming them, what happens? Some people have trouble with that. I understand that. There's a biblical reason why we do this. The Catholic Church does, the Anglican Church. A lot of churches have a history of this, old school. Here is a very famous passage of Paul's from the letter to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 8. Beautiful passage. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there's anything worthy of praise, think about these things. Boy, is this a message for America over the last 2 months? You know, like, take your head out of that and bring it here. And why don't you train your thoughts on these things? Please. This is a spiritual RX prescription for America. Here, get that filled right away, okay? 3 times a day. Wow. So there is that, of course. But you can see how this goes in terms of the world they're in. The people at his time were in an awful, awful world. I mean, it's awful, terrible for Christians. And he's pleading with them, you know what? Find what's honorable. Find what's lovely. Take that and use it. That is some strong preaching. And that's what you see. They take these pagan images and they redeem them. I told you they're carrying the sacrifice on their shoulders, these shepherds. They're carrying a ram that they're using to save their town. What does Jesus do? He's a good shepherd. He's not going to sacrifice that lamb. He sacrifices himself. He's not going to use that lamb to save him. He's going to use him to save the lamb. It's like, great. Here is an icon of Jesus, the Good Shepherd. It's a Russian icon. This one is kind of they threw in some English around it. but it's not your typical icon, is it? I mean, picture, when you think Good Shepherd, this isn't it. This is not what you're looking at, you know. Here is the Russian version, which I prefer. If you see there, you notice how the gown he's wearing is longer. It's like a chiton. And here it's shorter even, you know. I'm going to go back. I don't want to get you dizzy, like, whoa, where are you going? All right, this is the one. Notice there's something he doesn't have here. What does he have here that you see? Well, it says the good, and then it says shepherd. And then it says ICXC. And he has a halo with kind of a cross within the halo. Are you seeing all of this? Or are you just making believe because you can't see it? All right, well, this is here. And it's a sort of a cross within the halo, and there's some more letters within that, okay? Now I'm going to move in from that one to the Russian one, okay? Believe it or not, it has the same stuff on the top. I think this is Russian. It's hard for me to tell sometimes. The Cyrillic alphabet is similar. Anyway, on the top, it's like Ho Kalas Poyeno, it's Good Shepherd. And then when you see these things, maybe I go in, I'm sure I go in closer. I'm going to hold off on explaining what's around the halo and that. What I want you to notice, though, is that he has this strap going across, like a shoulder strap that goes to a bag. And I'm going to go back just for a second, and it's not there. There you don't see the shoulder strap with the bag. Here you do. There he has a longer chiton. Here it's shorter, and he's wearing, and it's red. The shoulder bag. I love this stuff. That's what a shepherd would have to keep food and stuff. I know Frank gets this from like Blue Collar, Massachusetts. You know, this guy's, he brings a lunch bucket, Frank. We got a Jesus, we got lunch bucket Jesus here. That's who he is. I love that. He's, and the shorter chiton makes it easier for him to work harder and run easier and get, you know how much running you have to do to catch up with these little lambs? Are you kidding me? Wow. And so you got a working man Jesus. That's what it's being shown here. He's a working man Jesus. And you may have noticed he's on the move with his legs. He's on the move. He's not just standing there holding a lamb. He's working. Look at his feet. Look at his legs. They're in motion. Now moving in on this, so you see, some of you have seen this a lot. You may not know what it means. The inside stuff looks like a zero and a little something and an N. It's I am, the great I am, the ego eimi, which is repeated time and again. The IC and the XC means Jesus Christ. That's what that stands for. The cross is sort of there. It's kind of subtle. I think you can see it, okay? So that's what's happening there. And he's carrying the lamb, and we're used to that, okay? I'm going to move on. Here are some other icons of Jesus. I showed you this one. I'm going to keep that in mind. And this. They're very similar, but they're different. Very similar, but different. On our left side, he's got the lamb over him. It looks like the lamb is asleep. You notice he has the other things around, the IC, the XC, and all of that. Do you notice that he's looking at you? He's looking at you. And his staff, the little crook thing, is resting. It's resting in his arm, right? It's just sort of resting there. And he said, go to the middle one. Same kind of iconography. This time he's got blue with the red, which is far more traditional. And he's got a lamb in his arms, and the lamb is not asleep, and the lamb is looking up at him. And he's got the rod in the side resting there. Now we're going to the next side, and he's looking at you, right? Jesus is looking at you. Now we're to the right one, all the way on the right. Same basic thing. This guy has a lamb on his shoulders. The lamb's asleep. He's got the green and red. But he also has a cross, a wooden cross behind him. And that's included to enforce the idea that this is a shepherd who died for his sheep. It's implied in the cross, it's more subtly available within the halo, but they really want to bring that home in this. And once again, the rod or whatever you want to, the staff is there with the crook resting, and he's looking at you, right? He's not. He's not looking at you. He sort of, maybe, he isn't that bang on looking at you. Watch. He's also not resting with he got in his hand. He's on the move and he's looking around. And the lamb is not asleep. The other ones with the lamb on the shoulders, they're like sleep. Not this lamb. This lamb's up and at him. This all has great meaning. When you look at it, it's telling you where he is. He's got mountains on either side. Oh, that sounds like he might be in a valley. I wonder what valley that could be where he might be. Valley, I know of the Jolly Green Giant. That would probably be. And Shannon says, no, you moron. This is the valley of death. And I'm like, oh, of course you're right. Yeah, it's Psalm 23. He's in the valley of death. He's in the valley of death. He got little lambs there, and he's looking, man. And he's got his thing ready. That's the image, I think, worthy of our contemplation. You've seen the others your whole life. I want you to eat, drink, and breathe this image. Because most of us, I don't want to sound, I don't have to sound, I don't think most of us need the other one. Do we need it? Of course we do. Do we need a Jesus just hold me in my arms and let me go to sleep? Yeah, I'm not saying we don't. But the other 23 hours, you know, I'm in the valley of death, man. I need help, please. And I need an image of Jesus. It's like, I'm on it, man. We're moving through this. I'm ready to go. Let's go for it. See how they're all looking at you. And he's not. This is, you look at the iconography of Jesus in Eastern Orthodox. Jesus almost always is looking at you. It's in the midst of his getting baptism. Who's he looking at? You and me. He's with the kids hanging out. Who's he looking at? You. Eyes on you. Even when they show him as a kid, he's looking at you. He's staring. He got that Jesus stare. And then, of course, the famous, the Pantocrator. This is the one from Catherine Monastery in Sinai. He's like, whoa. They're always looking at you. Jesus is looking at you, you know. Here, he's not. It's not quite that. The Christ of the icon stares you down. His gaze is inescapable. He demands our attention. We must look at him. We must acknowledge his presence. He has that sense of, I'm not going anywhere. Where are you going? He stands bestride history. The history of the entire world is divided by his life and death. Even if they want to add a letter after BC, you know, who are they kidding? Christ demands a decision. The Christ of the icon. But not here. Not in this icon. Not in this picture. There is Jesus, right? Let me get ahead. You've got to get a look at that. You take it in, all right? Instead of a confrontation with the person of Christ, demanding that I answer who he is, what does that mean to me? How am I going to respond? Here, the Lamb stares at me. Oh. Look, who's looking at you? The Lamb, that one eye of the Lamb is like, Wow. Instead of confronting Christ, I must confront myself. Because I'm a lamb. And that lamb is saying, are you getting it? Are you getting it? He's looking at you. I'm putting it up. You can't see it. But if you see it, Jesus is sort of like, kind of this. But the lamb is like on you. I'm looking at you, buddy. Mr. Fellow Lamb, Miss Fellow Lamb. What you thinking? How are you fitting in here? You see me, okay? That's not the only lamb in the picture. We got several others. You see this guy, Jesus got him. This is a lamb that is on the sideline, banging its little head off, saying, I can't, you can, help me. I can't, you can, help me. And now he's up there, Jesus got him. He got him. And this little lamb was pretty content, was pretty happy. And I think that lamb, I don't know, I'll go too far, but I get a sense of, I got the good spot here. I think you should get on. Christ is alive, Emmanuel, with us. As I say, look where he is and look where we are. He's in the valley of death and we're in the valley of death. And he's with us. If he is a shepherd, what are you? If he is a shepherd, what are you? I told you there are the sheep there. Watch. There's the one at his feet going like, you come, hey, what about me? Maybe that's who you are. I don't know. Or you could be this one, completely consumed by eating. Just like nothing going on. Just like, food. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He gives me the clover and the food to eat. Do you know sometimes, Frank, we're in big, big trouble. And Jesus comes into our lives and he provides for us. And we get completely lost in the provision. Oh, finally a job. Oh, this is great. Hey, we'll take vacation this year. Oh, isn't this great? It's like, what? Just say, you lost him. I've seen more people crash in their spiritual lives because of the blessings that God has given them. Yeah. They think they crash because of Satan's temptations. Of course they do. But one of the most treacherous things is, how do you handle the blessings God gives you, man? You got the job, you got the romance, you got the this, he helped you, and then you get lost in it. Mm-hmm. It's like, that's that guy. He's like, look at that. Where's Jesus? Who? Lost. Who are you? That's what you got to look at. Who am I in the picture, man? That's the old thing. St. Ignatius. It happens every week. Where are you in the picture? And then this lamb is looking at you and me and saying, okay, yes, you have to confront Jesus and who he is and what you're going to do about that. What are you going to do about you? Because ultimately, if Jesus is a shepherd, you're the sheep. What kind of sheep are you? Are you listening to his voice? Do you recognize his voice? Where do you fit in the picture? You could say, I'm that lamb down there looking up screaming. But it's okay. Until I did the One-Way Relationships workbook by Alfred Ells, I didn't realize that attention was an emotional need. If you grew up in my family or my culture and you were a child looking for attention, you were shamed. Yeah. Oh, the kid, all she wants is attention. Oh, I found out when I read that book, I was like, oh my goodness. Attention is an emotional need. Some of you know, you go to a party sometimes, or I used to, and there'd be one of the kids, and all of a sudden they're on you, and they want to share all about their work. And would you come up to my room? I did some artwork, and they want to, and I learned a song at school. Can I do it for you? And it's like, whoa. And when I was a pagan, I judged the child. That what is wrong with that kid? And when I got to know better, I would think, what on earth are those parents doing? That this poor child, once some other adult showed up, was trying to get attention so desperately. You know, I go through these pictures, and I don't want you to think I'm making fun of this one. It's like, that's okay, be that. It's all right. Know where you're at with it. Don't suppress it. You just yell out to Jesus, I need you. It's like, it's okay. The ones who get in trouble who feel that way and then they complain behind Jesus' back. It's okay. Be as needy and loud and whatever you need to be. But this sheep is engaging Jesus. And nothing wrong with that, whether it looks pretty or not. And the one who's actually up on top, it's like, that's it. That's where we all want to be. We want to be with Jesus, letting Jesus do for us what we cannot do for ourselves. Most of our problems, emotionally and all kinds of other ways, we're trying to do those things which we cannot do for ourselves. We're, as the big book would say, playing God. We don't know it, but we are. We're trying to control people, places, and things. We're trying to do things that maybe God isn't even calling you to. Guess what? You're having trouble with it. Well, surprise. Are you really letting Jesus carry you? Or are you too prideful? Or are you too afraid? Or do you think he's going to drop you? Or do you think he never will? Maybe you don't ask him because you're afraid you'll never get an answer. You're afraid to be that lamb who's on the bottom screaming because you say, I don't want the bigger disappointment. I think I'll just shut up. A lot of people from broken families and neglectful parents get like that. They don't even bother to ask for help anymore. They just, what's it worth? A lot of brokenness around that. And the image you have of Jesus here is that he will answer. He'll get right into the nitty-gritty of your life, into the worst things that are going to come at you, like the valley of death, and he's there to fight for you, not just to console you. He's there to fight and protect you. I need this Jesus in my life. That's a shepherd I want. Some people, I'll be a sheep. Just tell me, though, who my shepherd is. Mm-hmm. I may not want to be a sheep. If that's the shepherd, I don't think I'm signing up for being a sheep. But if this image of Jesus Christ, and that's my shepherd, I'm signing up. I want this man in my life. Amen. I want him there for me. And Jesus is saying, I am that for you. Let me be that for you. Are you letting Jesus really be this kind of shepherd in your life? Don't be afraid. Go for it. Let him carry you. Let him listen to you. Let him provide for you. Let him be in charge, and then trust him. And see if you don't come back to church with a God shot or two. I know you will. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.